everybody to the KC Sports Report Chiefs post-game live stream. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I'm going to break down the Kansas City Chiefs' narrow victory against the Denver Broncos in yesterday's game. So the Kansas City Chiefs were able to escape Denver with a narrow 34-28 win over the Denver Broncos. With this win, the Chiefs have now beaten the Donkeys 14 straight games. I talked about this game leading up into the week with Josh, and you guys can go check out that video on his channel. And one of the main things I said in that video is the Chiefs should have no problem winning this game, but they're the Chiefs, so it's probably going to be close. This game was way too close for comfort. The Chiefs let the worst offense in the NFL, led by Russell Wilson, who's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, drop 28 points, and you only beat them by 6 points. Not even a full touchdown and an extra point. You beat them by 6 points. I get it, you were on the road. I get it, it's a divisional opponent. But the Denver Broncos, that were averaging 16 points a game, a league worse 16 points a game, took you to the very end in this thrilling matchup. This game should not have been this close. And the reason that it was so close is because Patrick Mahomes threw 3 interceptions. The defense wasn't great yesterday, but when Patrick Mahomes is giving the other offense 3 other possessions, this game was bound to be closer than it should have been. The Denver Broncos almost and probably should have won this game. The Chiefs won this game because they're the Chiefs. But ladies and gentlemen, we let the worst offense in the NFL drop 28 points, a feat that they had not done at any other point in this season. You let this team take you to the very end. And now the Broncos fall to 3-10 with this loss, and they've officially been eliminated from the playoff hunt. And that only further shows you how bad the Chiefs played in this game. And it's crazy because if you would have told me coming into this game that the Chiefs offense would drop 34 points, I would say that they were going to win this game at least by 3 scores. In fact, coming into this game, my initial prediction was the Chiefs would win this game 31-10. I thought, the Broncos offense isn't very good, but, they might get a touchdown and a field goal and make it so it's not a complete snooze fest. But the Broncos actually came back. The Chiefs were at one point up 27-0. And from that point on, the Broncos outscored them 28-6. That is unacceptable. The Chiefs have shown this for the longest time. The Chiefs will have a great offensive possession or a great offensive half, and they're just not able to be consistent with it. And this has been a theme for a long time now. The Chiefs will have a great quarter or a great half, and then in the next half, they're just terrible. Like, we've seen them have a terrible first half and bounce back in the second half, and we've seen them have a great first half, kind of like this game, and then completely fall apart in the second half. And again, I think a lot of the reason why this Chiefs offense didn't put up more points is because Patrick Mahomes gave the ball back to the Broncos 3 times. Granted, he was 28 of 42 for passing, 352 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, one of which was a unbelievable sidearm underhand flip to Jerick McKinnon for like 50 yards, which was incredible. But, he made a lot of plays yesterday that just kind of left you scratching your head and wondering why. He missed a lot of his receivers, and he made some great plays. Don't get me wrong. That touchdown throw to Jerick McKinnon, he had a touchdown throw to, I believe it was Juju, the final touchdown that he threw. He got rocked, and he was able to get that ball off. And Jerick McKinnon had a hell of a day. We're going to talk about him in a minute. But the Chiefs' offense should not have given the ball back to the Broncos' offense 3 times. Like, that's just unacceptable. And the defense, given the fact that I don't think they played great, they didn't play horribly under the circumstances. Because, if you let any other offense have 3 extra possessions when your offense just gives it back to them, I kind of expect the opposing team's offense to score. There's not really much that you can do about that. And the Chiefs' defense, for the terrible hand that they were given, I think was okay. I'm not going to say they were great, But, they had 6 sacks in total. And that is something that, we would have signed up for heading into this game. But too often yesterday, before Russell Wilson came out of the game with what appears to be a concussion, Russell Wilson was kind of cooking. I'm not going to lie. He wasn't great, but Russell Wilson's been terrible this year. And he was 23 of 36 for 247, and he threw 3 touchdown passes. And one of those all 3 of those touchdown passes were to Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy cut the Chiefs up yesterday. And one thing that I wanted to mention is the front 4 and the pass rush was good for the Chiefs, but our back end, the secondary in this game, was god-awful. And one guy, and I hate to pick on this guy again, but, I just watched the tape back from this game. I wasn't able to watch all of the Chiefs game yesterday because I was working with the Kansas City Comets. So I wasn't able to watch all of the game, but I just watched the highlights, and I watched it a couple different times. And each time my eye was drawn to number 23, Joshua Williams, and it seemed like time and time again, the Broncos offense was just picking on him. They knew that he was not going to be able to guard whoever he was going up against, and he got cooked yesterday. And that's a big concern because the Chiefs are relying heavily on him, and he has been bad the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I don't think that Trent McDuffie was great by any means yesterday. He had that roughing the passer deep downfield on Jerry Jeudy. But, the secondary was rough. The linebackers were bad in coverage. I will say Willie Gay had a pick 6 towards the end of the first half where he made a nice one-handed grab on a Russell Wilson pass and took that thing all the way back to the house. That's impressive. Willie Gay's had a really good season up until this point. But, if you take out that touchdown, the Broncos and the Chiefs scored the exact amount of points, the exact same amount of points. And that's a problem. If you would have told me heading into this game that the Broncos would go point for point with the Chiefs offensively, I would have told you something went very wrong. Very wrong. And dare I say it did. Patrick Mahomes had a really bad game. He made some bad decisions, but honestly, he didn't have a bad statistical game if you take away those 3 interceptions. Obviously, you just can't take away those 3 interceptions because that was a major part of the game. But going 352 for 3 touchdowns isn't terrible. And I know a lot of people are saying that, that game single-handedly put him out of the MVP race. I think that's BS. I think that maybe he's not the leading MVP getter right now. A lot of people are saying Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts has like 8 fumbles and significantly less passing yards and passing touchdowns. So I still think that Patrick Mahomes is the top dog, or at least one of the top dogs in the MVP race. But at this point, it doesn't really matter. And the one thing that I want to point out, and I don't want to be overly cautious or overly sensitive about this win. But, when the Chiefs have made deep playoff runs, at least in the years that we've seen, by this time in the season, the Chiefs are playing their best football. By around week 12 or 13, the Chiefs have kind of got things locked away, and they're just ready to go. And I feel like this Chiefs team is starting to progressively get worse as the season goes along. The Cincinnati game, they unwinded. They weren't good in that Rams game, but they were able to beat the Rams because the Rams suck. But if you really look at it, the Chiefs have not played well the past 4 or 5 weeks. And that's not something that we are accustomed to seeing from a Chiefs team led by Andy Reid. By this point in the season, they're usually buckled up. They're usually ready to go on that playoff push. And right now, I don't know if this team is ready to go on that playoff push. Granted, they're still sitting at 10-3 and the 2nd seed in the AFC playoff picture, but this team is just not looking like a Super Bowl caliber team. And that's something that they definitely can change. I'm not saying that they can't, but we're getting to the point in the season where you're not going to be able to make major mistakes that's going to change the team. That's why I think it's so important that you play your best football in the later parts of the season, because that's kind of what you are as a team. What you're doing in week 13 and 14 is what your team is going to be. And that's why I'm kind of concerned that this rapid decline of what we're seeing could be just what the Chiefs are. The Chiefs have a turnover problem. They had this very same problem last year, and they were kind of able to fix it towards the end of the season. But, we kind of saw in the playoffs that issue reared its ugly head in that Bengals game. If you don't turn the ball over, you probably win that game. So I'm worried that these turnovers are going to bite them in the ass come playoff time. But it's not just the turnovers. It's been the special teams unit. The special teams unit has been terrible. It's been the worst facet of this team. The defense has been progressively getting worse. What they did against the Bengals was unexcusable. Granted, Travis Kelce fumbled that ball away. And if he didn't do that, they probably would have won. But giving up 28 points to the Denver Broncos, a team that had not gotten more than I believe 21 points all season long, that should be a concern. I know there's a lot of Chiefs fans out there that are saying, oh, you're just not a true Chiefs fan. Like, a win's a win, and I understand that. But you got to look at what it is. The Broncos coming into this game were arguably the worst team in the NFL. I believe right now they have like the second or third pick in the draft, which, by the way, that pick isn't even going to go to them. That's going to go to Seattle in what turns out to be one of the worst trades in NFL history. That pick that they acquired to go get Russell Wilson, that's going to be the Seahawks pick. And the Seahawks are in the playoff race right now. So that's worked out a lot better for the Seahawks than it has for the Broncos. But you barely beat a at the time, it was 3-9 Broncos team. You barely beat that team. And it's not that you just barely beat them. It's that you made their offense look competent. That's the problem. And even when Russell Wilson left the game, Brett Rippon came in and he threw a touchdown. Granted, he also threw an interception, which was very much caused by Chris Jones causing mayhem up front. But you made the Broncos offense look okay. And that, I think, is the biggest red flag. And that's what has me the most concerned. Because if you can do that with the Broncos offense, I mean, guys, we're one of the best teams in the AFC. We're going to face some really good offenses. The Bills, the Bengals, the Ravens. This is all stuff that you cannot do against those teams. If we would have played the Bills yesterday, the way that we played the Broncos, we would have lost this game by multiple touchdowns. That's just the facts of the matter. And the problem is, like I said just a couple minutes ago, at what point are you defined by your mistakes? At what point are the issues that we have seen for the last 5 or 6 weeks, when is that just your reality? When is that just who you are? Because I don't know. Because at what point are the Chiefs going to change? They may not change. And granted, we've seen them in the past overcome some crazy obstacles. We've seen them do really unhuman things to win games and go deep in the playoffs. But what we have seen the past 2 weeks is just not going to cut it. And that's what I'm concerned about. Yeah, this is a win. A win is a win. And you are that much closer to winning the division and getting a playoff berth wrapped up. That's awesome. We're the Kansas City Chiefs. We expect more. We expect more. And I think that obviously this is not a playoff game. It doesn't matter in the long run, but you just kind of have to look at it at a deeper level and say to yourself, is the Chiefs team that we saw yesterday, the entire Chiefs team, I'm not talking about first half Chiefs when they were up 27-0. I am talking about the full 60-minute performance that we saw. If you look at that team, does any part of you think that this is the team that's going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? Does any part of you think that after watching that game yesterday, the Chiefs are going to run through the AFC and make it back to a Super Bowl? I don't know how anybody could believe that. I'm not overreacting and saying the Chiefs can't make the Super Bowl. I've seen Patrick Mahomes do things that I've never seen any other quarterback do in the history of the NFL. That touchdown pass to Jerick McKinnon is one of them. I've seen him do things that, quite frankly, he has had no business doing. And one of those things was winning that playoff game last year against the Buffalo Bills. They should not have won that game. So I'm not questioning the Chiefs' ability to win in January. What I'm doing, though, is I'm saying that if you watched that game yesterday, do you think that this is a Chiefs team that could go back there? And they're the kind of team that when there is an opponent that is very difficult or highly sought after, they often rise to the challenge and take on that opponent fairly well. And that's a problem that we've really seen. The Chiefs, when they're facing a great opponent, bring a great game plan. When they're facing like a Buffalo Bills team or one of the top dogs besides the Bengals, they bring their A game. And most of the time, the Chiefs' A game is good enough to beat any single team in the NFL. But for whatever reason, when the Chiefs face like a Broncos or the Jaguars or the Rams, they can't step on the head of these teams. They just let the other teams kind of stay in the game, make it way too close. And I'm not trying to say that that is always a bad thing, because I don't think that you can always expect your team to blow out another NFL team. Like, these guys are grown men. They have jobs. They are putting all of their effort into playing this game that we so much love. But at a certain point, like, the Chiefs almost just kind of play around with them and let other teams back in the game. And we saw what that did last year. The Bengals were able to beat us. I don't want that to happen again. I don't think that anybody wants that to happen again. And so what I'm saying is that, yeah, this win is a win, but if the Chiefs continue to go down this road of playing like this, they're not going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think that that's an impossible thing to say. I don't think that that is a crazy thing to say. All I'm saying is that if the Chiefs continue to perform at this level, they're not going to the Super Bowl. I don't think that's a hot take, and I think that, if you guys truly watch the games and you're looking at this team and the way that they're performing at this current state, you would also agree with me. That's just what we're seeing right now. I'm not saying that they cannot get better. That's not realistic. The Kansas City Chiefs have been known to improve on their mistakes and ultimately correct those things. But, this has been a really weird year, because the last thing that I want is to say, yeah, this Chiefs team with no Tyreek Hill and this Chiefs team with no Tyrann Mathieu started off the season fantastic. They were really good. They won a lot of games, but when we really needed them to be good down the stretch, they kind of started to choke away. And, one thing that I mentioned with Josh in that preview episode is that, if the Broncos scored more than 20 points, we'd be a little bit concerned. So that's why I'm on here kind of giving my concern level a little bit, because, guys, I know you've seen Broncos football this year. I know you've at least tuned in to watch the Broncos lose. And if you've watched those games and if you've seen how god-awful the offense led by Russell Wilson is, you would be as concerned as I am. That is a miracle that the Broncos dropped 28. And I think what the problem is for me is they made it look really easy. The Chiefs defense should not have let that happen. But at the same time, Patrick Mahomes, you can't be throwing 3 interceptions. 3 of those passes were just stupid. You cannot try to throw it to Travis Kelce in the middle of traffic, and you just got to take care of the football. Like, this is something the Chiefs, again, have struggled with for so long. And again, at what point does this just become who they are? I hope they can change. I think that they're going to come into this next game with a little bit of a different game plan. I don't even know who we play. I want to say that, can somebody in the comments let me know who we play? I don't even know, but I know it's on the road. Whoever we do play, I'll look it up really quickly. The Chiefs have got to put forth a better effort. I think that's why a lot of Chiefs fans are just concerned, because it just kind of feels like they're escaping and they're just winning these games, but they're not really putting forth their best effort. Okay, they play the Texans. There is no way. Okay, I'm going to say this right now, and I know that the Texans cut it close to the Cowboys yesterday, but if the Chiefs do not beat the Texans by 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 touchdowns convincingly, we are going to have a problem. I'm going to say it. I think that there is no excuse to let the Texans in these games. In fact, the Texans are even worse than the Broncos. There is no excuse for playing this game close to the Texans. There's none. There's no excuse. So I want to see the Chiefs come out in this next game and put this team in the ground. I want to see the Chiefs impose their will. I want to see the Chiefs get back on track and beat the dog crap out of the Houston Texans. This should be something that the Chiefs should look forward to. This is a get-right game. And I know that you didn't lose this game against the Broncos, but you got to come out angry like you did lose this game. Because I think that a lot of people are starting to realize that the Chiefs aren't invincible. The Chiefs are not invincible. And the Chiefs have kind of got to get back to that level of dominance, or at least to that point where they strike fear in the heart of their opponents. They do not do that now. In the last 5 weeks, they've kind of just played around and they haven't really asserted their dominance. I know the Chiefs can do that. I know the Chiefs can do that. I've seen the Chiefs do that. I want to see the Chiefs go out in this game and step on the neck of the Houston Texans. And I don't think that's a lot to ask for, and I think that it is definitely a big possibility. So Chiefs Kingdom, those are my thoughts on the Chiefs' 34-28 victory over the Denver Broncos. I know this live stream might not have been what a lot of you wanted to hear or expected to hear, but I'm just going to be real with you. Like, I'm kind of concerned about this team right now. I'm not saying they're not going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying that if they continue to play at this level, they're not going to go all the way. So as long as the Chiefs can get back to not turning the ball over, you think that's this crazy thing that we're asking for, take care of the football, run the ball in better moments, and pass the ball to your own team. If they can do that and the defense can hold a team to 15 to 21 points, you're going to win every game. Just do that. It's not that difficult. Okay, I'm not going to say that. It is difficult, but it shouldn't have been difficult against the Denver Broncos, and it damn sure shouldn't be difficult against the Houston Texans. So before I get out of here, I want to read some of these stats because they are truly incredible. For as bad as the Chiefs might have looked on paper in this game, the offense actually did have some big-time producers. Jerick McKinnon had 7 receptions for 112 yards and 2 touchdown catches, his longest being that 56-yard catch where he was able to catch that sidearm from Patrick Mahomes and took it to the house. Juju Smith-Schuster had 9 receptions for 74 yards. Travis Kelce had 4 receptions for 71 yards. Noah Gray was able to get in on the action as well. He had 3 receptions for 45 yards. Isaiah Pacheco had 3 catches for 23. And additionally, rushing, Isaiah Pacheco had 13 carries for 70 yards, averaging 5.4 yards a clip. And Jerick McKinnon had 6 carries for 22 yards, averaging 3.7 yards per clip. So the Chiefs offensively actually didn't do that bad of a job, at least on the stat sheet. But I think that everybody could agree that there's a lot of work to be done and that they need to improve at not turning the ball over and capitalizing and executing on more of their offensive drives. And there was a couple times in this game where they had to settle for field goals where if you would have run the ball on second down or you would have run it on 3rd and short, you probably would have gotten the first down and you probably would have gone on to score. So I think that the play calling has got to be better from that aspect. But all I'm going to say is that they have to take a lot away from this victory. And they've got to look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, this just isn't good enough if we want to be the team that we believe that we can be. They're capable of being the best team in the NFL and winning a Super Bowl. And they have not been playing like that. And I think that all of Chiefs fans are starting to realize that. So guys, if you enjoyed this Chiefs post-game live stream, go ahead and hit the like button on this video. Subscribe for future Chiefs content. You can follow me on Instagram. That is KC_Sports Report. Twitter is at KC Sports Report. Check out the website. That is kcsportsreport.com. Until next time, guys, the Chiefs were able to escape this game against the Denver Broncos, and they won this game by a final score of 34-28. And the Chiefs have now beaten the Denver Broncos 14 consecutive times. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.